And welcome back to my round 2 recap of the my rapid tournament that I played yesterday. My name is Daniel, and as I mentioned in this video, we'll be covering my round 2 game in the KWCC Summer Quick event that I played yesterday. Keep in mind this is my 4th tournament back, so nerves are still a bit of a factor. But in this round, I got a lucky pairing, and I got paired with someone probably low rated. In fact, they were only 1200. So let's take a look at what happened in this game. So I'm playing white. This was actually a relatively short game. So I start with d4. My opponent goes for a King's Indian. And here, bishop to d7. It's not the best. Bishop to d7, I knew that at the time, when this happened in the game, I knew this wasn't too great of a move. In fact, the computer actually evaluates this as around plus 1.23 for white. So this isn't the best move. Here I just simply castle. My opponent goes for c5, and here goes for e6. And here I thought for a little bit. Here what the computer suggests, which is plus 1.4, is just simply bishop to f4 to put some pressure on d6. But here I decide that I have this queen here. This pawn is a bit backwards, so why not? I here actually take, not there. I take on e6. Idea is I'm attacking this pawn right now. So if f takes e6, then I can simply play queen takes d6, and I'm completely winning. Alternatively, my opponent does play bishop takes e6, and here I play bishop f4, double attack on this d6 point, and here my opponent, credit to him, plays the move queen to b6, which is the best move. The idea is that here, if I play queen takes on d6, there is queen takes b2, hitting my knight here, and in fact this diagonal does open up, and there are some threats on my rook potentially after this knight moves. And alternatively, if I play bishop takes d6, there is rook to d8, pinning my bishop to my queen, and a double attack. Although I do have e5, but I didn't really want to go for this because it felt like I was going to lose something. So here I just simply play queen to d2, protecting this pawn. Maybe you can double up at some point, and then e5 to bust open the center. In fact, here, I believe the best move, which I also saw in the game, was the move queen to c2, I believe. The idea is to protect this pawn once again and get out of the way so that I can actually maybe even double up here on the d file, and so that I don't have my queen as the first piece that is going into the attack here, because there is a rook coming in to maybe pin the queen if the queen was on d2, which it was. So queen to d2. Here my opponent plays rook to d8, protecting the pawn, and here I play rook f to d8, rook f to d1. Sorry, I didn't want to play rook a to d1. I felt like that was a bit too much of a commitment. The reason being, there is some queenside counterplay maybe at some point if this knight moves and my knight has to jump into b5 to maybe hit this d6 point. I did want to leave this rook here on a1 in order to play rook to b1 at some point maybe if I want to protect this b2 point. And also this rook would serve well to help defend against any counterplay on the queen side. Rook f to d1. Here my opponent plays knight to e8, and here I play e5. The idea here, which I envisioned, was that I can take advantage of this pin with this rook behind my queen, because now if you take, then I can play queen takes on d8, queen takes d8, and after a move like rook takes d8, there's pins everywhere on the back rank. You can take my bishop, but after it takes with check, bishop to f8, this is completely winning. These two pieces are never getting out. I can simply play a move like rook to d1, bring my other rook in, and there's still pins everywhere, and this is completely winning. So here I actually remember my opponent was really frustrated and really deep in thought. They couldn't really come up with a move. After a long while, they play knight to c6. And here I simply take this pawn. It is a free pawn after all. And I have this really strong pawn on the 6th rank, supported by my queen, rook, as well as my bishop. Here my opponent goes for a bit of a creative idea with rook to d7, trying to double up the rooks and try to create some counterplay of their own against this pawn with bishop f8 maybe, and try to winning this pawn. So here I play knight to a4, quickly striking before my opponent gets settled. Knight a4, the idea is I can take advantage of the fact that the c5 pawn cannot be protected. If you play queen to a6, which is the only move the queen can go to, or there's also a5, which my opponent played, queen a6, then there is knight takes c5, attacking the queen and the rook. And queen to a5, like my opponent played in the game, I can simply take here on c5, and this rook is forced back. Both of these squares are controlled by the pawn. And after my opponent's rook is forced back, I take the bishop here. And here after pawn takes, Here I notice that this rook and this knight are on the same diagonal, and my bishop can maybe slide into c7 if this pawn moves. But there is this knight here, so but conveniently d7 actually kicks away this knight. And after knight to f6, here I simply blitz out bishop to c7, and here my opponent resigns the game. The idea here is that you're going to lose material. If you move your knight back, let's say knight to c6, then I can simply take here, bring my knight in, and then you're completely busted. If you move your rook, there are even chances for me to promote to a queen, and you're going to lose even more material. And yeah, there are also knight to g5, knight takes e6 ideas. Keep in mind, knight g5, the opponent can't go king f7 because my knight on g5 would be controlling the f7 square. So this game I'm very happy with. It seems that this game my nerves actually went away. I managed to win. I managed to beat my opponent in 20 moves in a completely dominant fashion. So this game I was really happy with, and I thought that I was starting to relax a little bit and get into the swing of things for tournaments, and hopefully we'll be able to do better in the future rounds. So yep, like I mentioned, very smooth game, and we'll see what happened in my round 3 game in my round 3 recap video. Thanks for watching, everyone.